review of 2025. What did you miss? Always a highlight, unless you missed everything.
Not this bloke again. So, what did you miss in 2025? It was a pretty good year, actually, in terms of variety of species. And I always go by the numbers of species we get submitted to the Bird Club website. Last year it was 201, which is a good number. I'll show you the graph in a minute. And as you can see, 14,000 odd records, that many observers. That's down from last year, and I don't think the website record totals look particularly good, partly because I added a lot of swift nests and rook nests and some other things, so take them off, and I think the total's down quite a bit. So we would encourage submission of bird records. On that note, we are just about still open for 2025 records, so if you've got anything interesting to add, please do submit it. Particularly breeding birds, for which we don't get enough records. Drop-down codes, as mentioned earlier, are incredibly helpful. And then anything else. If you saw turtle dove, white stork, and a couple of other species, I think turtle dove and white stork are the main ones we know were seen but not sent in. So might be unlikely if anyone's seen them last year, please submit. Here's the graph. It gets longer every year because I never get rid of the lots of 200 on the left, which is the record. 201, which looks like a record, but I'm afraid it won't be, because a number of species are subject to acceptance by the Rare Birds panel. That will decrease the total, but there may be some increases as well from species submitted to Bird Track or eBird, but not the Bird Club itself. I think we're going to end up with about 198 or so, which is where we were roughly in 2023. But it shows a good variety of species in terms of numbers. And as someone commented to me previously, remarkably consistent when you look at all the years. 189 to 200, a gap, difference of only 11 throughout that period. Consistent. Regrettably, they're lumping several species together, so we're actually going to lose some from the county list and from each total. So redpoll has already become, the various redpolls have just become redpoll, and green teal and teal, hooded crow and carrion crow mean less each year, although if anyone sees a hooded crow, I think you'll still be quite interested, since the last one was in 1985. Let's look at some good photos then. Thank you to all the photographers. Start off with short-eared owls. These were at Holwell, near Hitchin, remained from 2024. And we also had the lingering yellow-browed warbler at Verulamium Park, and surprisingly more on that one later. Ferruginous ducks also continued into the year, Bashworth and Pinesfield Lakes in the southwest of the county. Big surprise was a flyover red-throated diver in Sawbridgeworth. It would probably have been visible from my house, but unfortunately I was in my living room, not looking out the window at the time. Also a big surprise was a garden ring ouzel that spent a few days in a garden in Potter's Bar in January. And we also had these white-fronted geese at Tring reservoirs as well. A lot more on geese later on. Hawfinches had quite a good winter. Let's see if the video plays. Yes, it does. This is our chairman's video. I think this is at Tinhanger.
Yeah.
Very nice video of a hawfinch. And come on in a second to another nice surprise. The hawfinch doesn't do much, so let's wait till you watch the pectoral sandpiper later. It is a video, I promise. Really nice surprise was this redneck grebe that appeared at Amwell on the 21st of February. It stayed almost 2 months, and as you can see, started to come into its summer plumage, which was really excellent and seen by a lot of observers. I suppose highlight of the year was the Baikal teal. It's not going to win awards for being the prettiest bird of the year, but it was certainly the rarest, the first ever record for Hertfordshire. Seen at Wilston Reservoir. It still has to be accepted by the National Rarities Panel that it was obviously a wild bird rather than an escape, so we'll wait and see about that one, but that could increase the county list. What else did we have? We had 2 white-tailed eagle records at Tring and in Hertford in March, spoonbill at Wilston Reservoir, stone curlew, Norton Green near Stevenage, purple heron and Stamford gravel pits, again thanks to our chairman. Other good sightings include several goshawk sightings, a hoopoo near Sawbridge, that's another one I didn't see, that someone's probably filmed. Singing wood warbler at Cassiobury Park and a Slavonian grebe at Hillfield Reservoir, and that means it was a 5 grebe year in 2025, the first time that's happened since 2017. It doesn't happen very often when the red-necked and the Slavonian grebes join the others in the list. We also had this very nice summer plumage spotted redshank at Wilston Reservoir. Not often we see them looking quite like that. It was a really good year for spotted redshanks, actually, with 4 other records as well. And here's every county birder's dream. You get to the hide, you open the flap, and there's a mixed flock of waders. We've got Dunlin, ring plovers, and a sandling in the middle. And this was also Wilston Reservoir, I think, in April. Continuing the wader theme, we've got this lovely Temmings stint that was at Ryemeads, and it was then relocated to Anwell on the next day. And a lovely black-crowned night heron. This was also at Ryemeads. Spent a week there. We're in the summer already, I'm afraid. But spent a week there in July. Let's see if the video works. Going to make sure the sound's off so we don't have commentary from the hide. Got it. There we are. Bit of a scratch and off we go. Another really good county bird, it was this Montague's harrier that spent its time on the Hertfordshire-Buckinghamshire border beyond Tring at Long Marston, and it was mainly in Buckinghamshire but occasionally moved into Hertfordshire. So that's a really good record. There was a second Montague's Harrier record of a juvenile that flew over Ryemeads in August, and also nearby another spoonbill at Wilston, not nearby, also a spoonbill at Wilston Reservoir. And peregrines. It was an interesting year for peregrines. So the good bit, there were 5 nests, 9 young and 7 of them fledged. St Albans didn't go very well to start with because the eggs, as probably most of you know, were deliberately trodden on. It remains to be seen what, if any, action is going to be taken about that. But the brilliant news was that, I think to a lot of people's surprise, the peregrines relayed and produced these 3 chicks which were ringed and successfully fledged. Many thanks, as always, to Andy Day and Barry Trevis for all their work and their information about peregrines in Hertfordshire. You can see on the left, peregrine adult feeding its chick on a pylon in North Hertfordshire as well. Sad bit of news, I think. This is the first ever year where we've had no turtle doves records, which, when you look back at the bird reports from 30 or 40 years ago, and you see how common they were, is a real shock. Now, there probably were perhaps some passing turtle doves, but none that we've been sent. So definitely, if you've got a turtle dove record, please send it in. And how about this one, though? This lovely wryneck that was ringed, trapped and ringed at Bennington, where a lot of ringing goes on. Showing a couple of the strange poses that these really unique birds make when they feel they're in danger. And shags. So, this was the first time we'd had shags recorded in Hertfordshire since 2019, a big gap. They were at Wilston and Startop's End reservoirs and Tring. One bird found which usually happens at the start of September. When these birds come inland, they're often inland because they're in a poor way. They stay at Tring. It's clearly a good place to be because there were also 2 more red-throated divers, thought to be a parent and a juvenile. And they were there from the 26th of September to the 2nd of October. And together with the record back from Sawbridge at the start of the year, the first records in Hertfordshire since 2012, so a 13-year gap. It was quite a rarity-filled autumn. He is the pectoral sandpiper at Stanborough Gravel Pits. Rupert's really pleased about that one that he missed. That was there for 3 days, first county record since 2015, so another 10-year gap. And let's watch the video of the water moving and the bird not moving. Lovely video by Simon West, really close up of this excellent county record at Stanborough. To be fair, I've hardly ever been to Stanborough, but every time I've been, it's been very windy there. Another Stanborough picture, and I love this one. It's a hen harrier. I think those are cobwebs. I'm not entirely sure, but being harassed by corvid, and yes, quite some picture in the evening light. That's the golden hour, I suppose, which we'll call that. But excellent photo. And I think we're staying at Stanborough, Rupert, is that right? To have another watch of a merlin. I've had a few pictures of merlins in the time I've been doing this, but not a video, and how excellent was this, seeing this bird sitting there on the post. Is it windy?
Yeah, it's the wind, it's not me shaking.
Also at Stanborough, and this was also seen by Rupert, was a Lapland hunting on the 4th of November. Now that would be another county first if it's accepted by the Rarities Committee. So we'll have to see again on that one if we're going up by one or two this year, when the decisions are made. Here's Tittenhanger, which not to be forgotten. Whooper Swat, one of 9 there on the 25th of October. Obviously early movement from birds arriving from the continent. And how about this lovely Dartford warbler from Mike? What a year it was for Dartford warblers. Until recently these were a real county rarity. But we had 2 birds at Stanborough, a single at Walken, single at Gorhambury, and most notably this bird at Turin, which arrived at the end of October and was still present at the end of January and possibly into February. I don't think it's been seen since. But that's really, really an excellent bird that stayed a long time. And then into the winter, when we had a lot of geese. We started with a pink-footed goose at Alden Reservoir for a few weeks, and that was really a sign of things to come, because there was an influx of wild geese. Don't often get them, including white-fronted geese, which I think made up most of the records. This was part of a flock at Tittenhanger again. There were several flyover flocks. I had a frustrating flock of grey geese fly over my house. I didn't have my bins on me, but they were almost certainly white-fronted geese. I think it was all on Christmas Eve, most of them were arriving. And then there were parties found at Tring and also Tittenhanger. And into this year, we've had parties found, small parties found elsewhere as well. And perhaps even better and even rarer were the tundra bean geese found on Boxing Day at Tring Reservoirs. They stayed until the new year, and this was the first county record of these birds since 2011, so a 14-year gap. Lots of long records being broken, if that's the right word, this year, with good species. We also had our Christmas bird count, very successful. I think this was taken slightly before the bird count started, but there's a marsh tit in Jan Brown's garden in Barkway. We also had 118 species in the Christmas bird count, including, importantly, the only tree sparrow of the year. I think that was the day before New Year's Eve. Discovery of short-eared owls at Road Green, which have been very popular, albeit they're coming out very, very late, and they're seen almost daily, but almost in the dark. They're still there now. And finally, the return of the yellow-browed warbler to Verulamium Park. So presumably the same bird as previously, albeit stayed a very short period this time. I think found on New Year's Eve, and by the 2nd of January, it was just about gone. So that's a whistle-stop tour. You'll be pleased I didn't talk as much as I did about swifts, but that's 2025 in Hertfordshire.
Great. Thank you very much, Graham. Thank you.